The Chronicle of Gondor. Thus I set down the record of Gondor, the south kingdom of the Dúnedain, founded in exile yet crowned with enduring glory. Many ages have passed since the ships of the faithful came ashore, and the white tree took root anew beside the flowing Anduin. What follows is the history of that realm, from the days of its rising after the downfall of Númenor to the passing of Elessar Telcontar, last and greatest of its kings. The founding of the South Kingdom. In the twilight of the Second Age, when the sea still bore the bitterness of Númenor's ruin, Elendil the Tall led the survivors of the faithful eastward across the tumbling waves. With him came his sons, Isildur and Anarion, bearing the heirlooms of their lost land, the Palantiri of clear seeing, the shards of Elendil's sword Narsil, and a sapling of Nimloth, the white tree of Númenor. When their ships came at last to Middle-earth, Elendil founded the North Kingdom of Arna, while his sons went southward and established the realm of Gondor beside the Anduin, between the White Mountains and the sea. There they built their cities, Osgiliath upon the river, Minas Ithil in the shadow of Ephel-Duath, and Minas Anna upon the western hills. Osgiliath was the first and fairest, seat of the joint rule of Isildur and Anarion. There stood the Dome of Stars, whose high roof was set with crystals that glimmered like the night sky of Númenor. Beneath that dome grew the white tree brought by Isildur, descended from Nimloth, and it shone as a symbol of the faithful's endurance. To guard against the darkness that stirred once more in the east, the brothers raised towers of stone and walls of white marble. Minas Ithil, the Tower of the Moon, gleamed silver beneath the rising night, while Minas Anna, Tower of the Sun, caught the morning's light. In those days, Gondor was young and strong, and its people were of Númenorian blood, tall, wise, and long-lived. The first war with Sauron. Yet even as the Dúnedain built their kingdom, the enemy rose again in Mordor. Sauron, though cast down by the might of the sea, had escaped death. From Barad-dûr he gathered his power anew, and when he deemed his strength sufficient, he struck without warning. Minas Ithil was taken in a sudden assault, and its white walls were blackened by flame. The fair tower was defiled, and the white tree there was burned. Isildur escaped by night with his wife and sons, bearing a seed of the tree, and fled north to seek his father's aid. Anarion remained, holding Osgiliath and Minas Anna against the storm. Then Elendil and Gil-galad, High King of the Elves, made the last alliance, and a host of men and elves marched to Mordor. For 7 years they besieged Barad-dûr until Sauron came forth in wrath. In that last battle Anarion was slain, and Elendil fell beside Gil-galad, but Sauron was overthrown. Isildur cut the One Ring from the hand of the enemy, and Barad-dûr was cast down. Thus ended the Second Age. The early kings. After the victory, Isildur planted the seed of the white tree in Minas Anna and departed north to rule in Arna. His nephew Meneldyl, son of Anarion, became the third king of Gondor and first to rule alone. Thus began the line of the kings of Anarion, which endured for more than 2,000 years. In those early centuries, Gondor grew in might. Its fleets sailed the coasts, and its banners flew from the mouths of Anduin to the borders of Harad. Pelargir was the chief haven of the faithful. From there, the Númenorian mariners traded and guarded the southern seas. Minas Anna became a place of beauty and rest, filled with gardens and white stone halls. Yet Osgiliath remained the heart of the realm, the bridge city that spanned the Anduin and held the thrones of the kings. The shadow returns. But no realm of men endures without trial. The watchful peace began to fade, and the shadow that had been driven from Mordor crept back in secret. Evil things multiplied in the mountains, strange omens were seen in the east. Still, Gondor's might was great, and few dared challenge it. Under Atanata Alcarin, called the Glorious, Gondor reached the height of its splendor. The crowns of its kings were bright, its armories full, and its people numerous. But with wealth came pride, and the wisdom of the Dúnedain began to wane. Later kings cared more for display than for vigilance. When the dark power stirred once more in the east, Gondor was slow to perceive the peril. Then came the days of Hjarmandasil I, who extended Gondor's reach to its furthest bounds. The Haradrim were subdued, and tribute was paid to Minas Anna from lands far south. But even such victories carried seeds of decline. the line of the kings grew proud, and the faith and humility of their forefathers faded. The kin strife. In the time of Eldacar, strife came within. The blood of Númenor had mingled with that of lesser men, and many of the nobility resented the king's northern birth and descent. When the throne passed to Eldacar, rebellion flared, led by Castamir the usurper, a captain of the fleets. The city of Osgiliath was taken in battle, its great dome shattered, and the palantir of the capital lost in the river. Eldacar fled north, and for 10 years Castamir ruled with cruelty. But the people loved not his pride, and when Eldacar returned with loyal men of the north, Castamir was overthrown. Yet the wounds of the kin strife never wholly healed. The rebels' kin fled to Umbar, and there they became the corsairs, enemies of Gondor for centuries. The decline of the kings. After the kin strife, Gondor's strength was never again the same. Enemies pressed from all sides. From the north came the Wainriders, fierce peoples of the plains. From the south, the corsairs. From the east, dark men allied to Mordor. The kingdom held, but at great cost. Minas Ithil was retaken briefly, but its fortifications were weakened. The plague that swept from the east in the year 1636 struck Gondor grievously. Osgiliath was deserted, and the royal court was moved permanently to Minas Anna, which thereafter became the chief city of the realm. In the time of Eänil and Eänir, Gondor fought again with the Witch King of Angmar. Though the north kingdom of Arna fell, Gondor's armies came north and avenged its ruin at the Battle of Fornost. But when Eänir later accepted the Witch King's challenge to single combat at Minas Morgul, for so Minas Ithil was now named, being taken and corrupted by the Nazgul, he vanished, and no king returned. Thus ended the line of the kings of Gondor, and the rule of the stewards began. The stewards of Gondor. Mardul Voronwe, the faithful steward of Eänir, took up the rule, swearing to govern until the king's return. From him descended the line of the ruling stewards, who held Gondor in trust for nearly 1,000 years. The stewards were wise and valiant, and they kept the realm from ruin, though its borders shrank and its people dwindled. They maintained the walls, the armies, and the watchtowers, though many were abandoned. Minas Anna was renamed Minas Tirith, the Tower of Guard, and stood ever vigilant against the darkness of Mordor. Under Denethor I, the palantir of Minas Ithil was lost to the enemy, and so began the long struggle of will and despair that haunted the stewards. Yet still they endured, men of great nobility, though without hope of renewal. The coming of the shadow. As the Third Age waned, the signs of Sauron's return multiplied. The necromancer who had long dwelt in Dol Guldur was revealed to be none other than the Dark Lord himself, and in the year 2951 he openly declared himself in Mordor. The fires of Orodruin were rekindled, and the black banners of the Eye were seen once more. In these days ruled Denethor II, proud and stern, a man of deep thought and heavy heart. He loved Gondor with a consuming will and saw its decline with bitterness. He studied the lore of old, and by means of the Palantir sought to master all tidings of his realm, yet the eye of Sauron looked back, and his spirit was darkened. Faramir, his younger son, was wise and gentle, Boromir, his elder, bold and valiant. Both served Gondor with devotion, but fate drew them into the great events that heralded the end of the age. The War of the Ring. When the One Ring was found, and Sauron's wrath awakened, the storm broke upon Gondor. Mordor's hosts issued from the Black Gate and the Morgul Vale, and the war that had long been foreseen came at last. Boromir fell far from home, defending the Ring-bearer's company, and tidings of his death came like a shadow upon the city. Then Sauron struck with full force. The beacons of Gondor were lit from the hills of the White Mountains to Rohan, calling for aid. The armies of Mordor came against Minas Tirith in great number. They broke through Osgiliath and the Rammer's Echa, and the siege of Gondor began. The sky was filled with darkness from the fires of Mordor, and despair fell upon the hearts of men. But the city endured. Faramir held the outworks until wounded, and Gandalf the White took command within the walls. Then, when all seemed lost, and the gate was broken by Grond, the great battering ram, Hope returned from the sea. Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir of Isildur, came with the fleets of the dead and turned the tide at the Pelennor fields. Their Theoden, king of Rohan, fell, but the hosts of Mordor were utterly defeated, and the Witch King was slain. After the battle, Aragorn healed the wounded with the hands of a king, fulfilling the prophecy that the hands of the king are the hands of a healer. Denethor, driven by despair and the deceit of the Palantir, had perished in madness, but Faramir was restored and made steward in truth under the returning king. The return of the king. When the captains of the West marched to the Black Gate, it was not to win by arms, but to draw forth the enemy and give the ring-bearer his chance. There the hosts of Gondor and Rohan stood against hopeless odds until the ring was unmade in the fires of Orodruin, and Sauron was overthrown forever. Thus ended the Third Age of the world, and the reign of King Elessar Telcontar began. The crown of Gondor, long without a wearer, was set upon his brow by the hand of Gandalf before the gates of Minas Tirith. The white tree blossomed anew from a seedling found upon Mindoluin, and peace returned to the realm. The reunited kingdom. In the days of Elessar, the North Kingdom of Arna was restored, and the realms of the Dúnedain were made one again. The lands of Gondor flourished, the walls of Osgiliath were rebuilt, and the Tower of Echelon shone white against the sky. Faramir became Prince of Ithilien, and that fair land was renewed. Elessar wedded Arwen Undomiel, daughter of Elrond, and their marriage joined once more the blood of elves and men. The Fourth Age dawned in peace, and for many years the reunited kingdom prospered. Yet time moves ever onward, even for the great. The long years of Elessar's reign were counted among the most blessed in the histories of men, and under his wisdom Gondor regained much of its ancient strength. The borders were secured, the allies of old reconciled, and the memory of darkness faded into legend. The passing of Elessar. At last, after more than 120 years of rule, the king felt the weight of years upon him. Knowing that his time had come, he laid down his life willingly, as was the gift of the Númenorian kings of old. He spoke with his queen, Arwen Undomiel, and took farewell of his son Eldarion and his daughters. Then he lay upon the house of the kings, and his spirit departed in peace. Great was the mourning of Gondor, for never again would such a king arise among men. Arwen departed to Lorien, and there faded at last beneath the trees of Seren Amroth, and thus ended the tale of the Even Star. But Eldarion ruled after his father, and the realm endured through his line for many generations. The legacy of Gondor. So passed the high days of Gondor. From the ruin of Númenor it had risen, endured the shadow of Sauron, and outlasted the pride and folly of men. Its white towers and shining banners became symbols of hope for all the West. Though its power waned with the centuries, the spirit of Gondor remained steadfast against darkness, keeper of the memory of the elder days, guardian of the realm of men. From its walls the beacons once shone, and through its gates the armies of the West had marched. The wisdom of its kings and stewards shaped the fate of Middle-earth. To this day the white tree is the emblem of renewal, the 7 stars of Elendil the mark of unity, and the crown of the Sea Kings the token of enduring faith. And so long as the memory of those things endures, Gondor itself shall not wholly pass from the hearts of men. Epilogue. Thus ends the Chronicle of Gondor, written in the reign of Eldarion, son of Elessar, by the hand of a humble lawmaster of the House of the Stewards. May these words preserve the memory of that great realm and the valor of its people, lest the deeds of the fathers be forgotten in the dimming of the world. For though the ages pass and kingdoms fall to dust, still the white city stands, gleaming in the sun beside the mountains, a monument to the faith of the Dúnedain, and the enduring hope that even in darkness, the light of men may shine once more.